Hello students, very good morning. So after a gap of a week, once again I am back to explain about another new concept in the topic, that is interaction of non-allelic genes. After knowing the different concepts like number one is supplementary factors, complementary factors, then dominant epistasis phenomenon. Here is another one, that is recessive epistasis. You must be knowing well about the phenomenon or a concept of epistasis. Here there are two dominant genes belonging to different loci. By interacting with each other, how do they dominate? And we also understood the dominant epistasis by taking an example of the feather color in the fowl breed, okay, and where we obtained a ratio that is 12:3:1, okay. So there is a modification of Mendelian dihybrid ratio from 9:3:3:1 into 12:3:1. So after recapping all that, let us try to know here in this another one special case, Mendelian dihybrid ratio is once again found modified into that is 9:3:4. How is this? We'll see it later on. What is recessive epistasis? Firstly, we need to understand it. So recessive epistasis is a case or is a phenomenon where a recessive homozygous genes mask other dominant gene. Recessive epistasis is a phenomenon or is a case where here also there are two dominant genes located on two different loci, okay, where a recessive, in the previous case that is a dominant epistasis, there was a dominant gene, but here it is a recessive gene. Being recessive can mask, can suppress, can totally inhibit the expression of another dominant gene to express. Here I can write to express. Okay, so we can understand this statement by considering a pair of homologous chromosomes where we can show two loci. Here is one locus and here is another locus, first and second. For example, let me write like, let it be a gene and here is another gene. These two are dominant, no doubt, belonging to two different loci, and their corresponding genes or the alleles could be like, it could be capital A or small a, and here it could be capital B or small b. This is a normal case. In previous supplementary or complementary or epistatic gene, where we find that one gene, two dominant genes are always present to express a single phenotypic character. But here is something different. So as to understand this recessive, let me show it. Instead of capital B as a dominant gene, if it is a recessive gene, okay, this will interact with this, and being a recessive allele or gene can inhibit, can prevent, can mask the expression of a dominant gene belonging to another different locus. So here this small b means a recessive gene is said to be like it is epistatic, a recessive epistatic gene or allele. Okay, it is epistatic. Being recessive can suppress, can mask another dominant gene, another dominant gene belonging to different locus, and now this capital S is now said to be hypostatic. Now said to be hypostatic. Please try to differentiate the previous phenomenon of dominant epistasis. In case of dominant epistasis, what happens? That is, one dominant gene can mask the expression of another dominant gene belonging to different loci. But here, one recessive gene can mask the expression of another dominant gene belonging to the different locus. That's what the name is, recessive epistasis. This is especially very special case of epistasis, and this we can understand with the help of an example, and that example is, let me write it here, that is coat color in mouse. See, mice, illegal. So coat color is nothing but hair color in case of mouse. We could observe three different colored hairs on the coat in mouse. Number one type, that is called agouti. Agouti color means it is something like a grey color, and this is expressed by a dominant gene. That is, let us represent that gene as capital A, since it is a dominant. Okay. Then second type of colored coat in mouse, so that is black. And in this case, black color is expressed by another dominant gene. A dominant gene belonging to another different locus. Let me represent it as capital C. Okay, capital C. This is a dominant gene to express a black colored coat in mouse. And there is one more bit. During the interaction between A and C, there could be the observation of another one colored coat in mouse, that is albino. And this is expressed by a recessive gene, that is small c. Recessive allele of capital C, that is a small c, is known to express albino. How this is able to express? Let me explain with the help of diagram. Here I draw a pair of homologous chromosomes. Pair one should be paternal, other should be maternal, as you know previously. And let me show you two loci. Okay, this is the first locus where I represent a gene, that is capital A for expressing agouti color. So another one is corresponding allele, that is same allelic gene, that could be either dominant or it could be recessive. Okay, and another one locus gene, I represent it as capital C. This capital C is known to express color code, that is a black color. So it's another one corresponding allele. It could be capital C or it could be small c. It may be dominant, it may be recessive. Okay, so that here are two genes. Number one gene is capital A gene to express agouti color or grey color, and number two, that is capital C, belong to different locus, is known to express black colored coat. Okay, so when this is the case, we need to know when these two genes interact with each other, come together, which gene will express. That is important. Here, literally speaking, this dominant allele to express agouti is known to suppress capital C for black color, so that when these two come together, agouti colored gene will dominate the black color gene, that is capital C. This is how, let me write it like capital A is known to dominate capital C. Means when capital A come with capital C, capital A will express, capital C will fail to express its black color, respective color, that is black color. Okay. And one more special case, if not this type, if not this capital C is present, in that place, if there is presence of a recessive pair, that is instead of capital C, it's a recessive allele as a small c, and here also a small c. Look at it, both are recessive alleles of capital C to express this black color. Once again I will repeat, don't get confused with this capital C. If there is a presence of gene that is capital C, then there would be the expression of black color. In that place, if there is a recessive form of capital C allele, then this allele on both the parental and maternal chromosomal loci, obviously both are found to be recessive and homozygous, and now they are known to express a particular color. You can ask me, here is a dominant gene and here is a recessive gene, okay? And which one is going to express? Obviously, in a previous case, if we compare, we could say that A can inhibit, A can prevent, A can mask the expression of this small c, recessive allele small c. But case is totally different. Though this is dominant, being recessive allele can inhibit, prevent or mask the expression of capital A for agouti. Andre ಈ small c recessive alleles of this capital C for black color, ನಾನು ಇದು ಬಂದಿತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, this recessive allele small c can mask the expression of this capital A gene for agouti color expression. So something different, and how this is possible by means of crossing it we can understand. So that I will write like small c can dominate capital A for agouti color. Capital A agouti color gene can dominate capital C for black color. This is, try to understand what I have kept it in a box. Look at it. Recessive allele small c can dominate, can mask the effect of capital A for agouti, and in turn, when we consider this capital A for agouti color can dominate the expression of capital C for black color. This way is the order of dominance. But here this small c is known to be epistatic. What kind of epistatic gene? It is recessive epistatic gene. Okay, and this capital A, which is being masked by this recessive epistatic gene small c, is said to be what is it? Hypostatic. Hypostatic means small c as a recessive gene can act as epistatic gene to the locus of this capital A. So capital A is supposed to be masked by this recessive small c, and so it is, or hence it is called as hypostatic gene. A is hypostatic to C, small c, whereas small c is epistatic to capital A. And when we omit this, when these two dominant alleles come together, definitely gene for agouti color will dominate the gene for black color. So this is how exactly you need to understand. Here also I represent, this is epistatic, recessive epistatic, and this is A gene is hypostatic, unable to express. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹ್ಯೂಮರಸ್ ವೇದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದಿಸ್ ರಿಸೆಸಿವ್ ಎಪಿಸ್ಟಾಟಿಕ್ ಜೀನ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸಿ ದಾದಾಗಿರಿ ಎದರ ಮೇಲೆ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎ ಜೀನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಗೌಟಿ ಕಲರ್. ಅದು ಡಾಮಿನೆಂಟ್ ಇದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದು ರಿಸೆಸಿವ್ ಇದ್ದುಕೊಂಡೇ ಅದನ್ನ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ, expression prevent ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. So this is the basic concept of exactly how this recessive allele can act as an epistatic gene to another one dominant gene, which is for expressing gray color or agouti color. So let us take a pure line parents. Like let me write here parents. What type of parents we need to take? We need to cross that is black, okay, black mouse. One should be male, another should be female. When we cross black colored mouse with albino color, albino mouse, its respective genotype, this is phenotype, and I write genotype of it. Genotype, what is it? That is black mouse. Here this is capital C, small a, and here the genotype for this albino is small c, capital A. Okay, small c. This gene, capital C, is a gene to express black color, but condition is that gene for agouti must be in a recessive state. So this is genotype for black colored mouse. Whereas albino, so as to understand this and this, look at it, this capital A gene is to express agouti color, but it is being masked by this recessive allele of this capital C, that is a small c, can mask the expression of capital A gene, so that this is non-agouti and non-black, so that it is albino. So when we cross these two, gamete formation, where alleles combination, what we get? Gamete, that is capital C, small a. Okay, sorry, capital C, small a, right? So its allelic combination could be small c, capital A in other gamete. When these two unite together or fuse together, they form a zygote carrying allelic combination, that is capital C, small c, capital A, small a. Look at it. What must be its phenotypic character now? Here is a capital C to express black color, here is a capital A for expressing agouti color, but which one is going to express when these two are present together? That is obviously capital A, because look at it, capital A is able to dominate the expression of capital C, so that obviously what we expect, this should become agouti color or gray color, agouti color mouse. Okay, now this is F1 generation. Here we need to understand all the three genes. Look at it here, in the absence of capital A for agouti, this capital C for black color is expressed, so that this is the respective genotype. And here albino, look at it, this small c is a recessive epistatic gene to mask the expression of capital A for agouti, so that its respective allelic combination. And when these two kinds of genotypes through gametes unite, come together, then they express a color that is not black, not albino, it is agouti, because capital A can dominate the expression of capital C. So like how, okay? And still we need to understand all the three colors, like expression of agouti color, then black color and albino color, so as to understand the epistatic behavior of a recessive allele, we need to obtain F2 generation. So here let us try to make use of Punnett square bolt or checkerboard. Why? Because we are going to take F1 generation as parents here. What is it? Agouti colored, agouti mouse of F1 generation with another agouti mouse. Agouti mouse. Please try to understand. One should be male, another should be female. When these two are selfed, look at it. It's a genotype. I need to write the same genotype. You can write it here. Capital C, small a, small a. And here that is again the same, because agouti of F1 generation only. Capital C, capital A, small a. Then their respective allelic combinations during gamete formation could be of 4 types, as one type called capital C, capital A, another type called capital C, small a, third type called small c, capital A, and fourth type, that is small c, small a. Here also the 4 allelic combinations in their respective gametes. Here it is once again capital C, capital A, and here this is small c, capital A, and this is capital C, small a, and here this is small c, capital A, and last one small c, small a, right? So as to represent the possible zygote formation types, we need to draw Punnett square or checkerboard where gametes of male parent and gametes of female parent. Here I write capital C, capital A, capital C, capital A. Second one, capital C, small a. Third, small c, capital A. Last one, small c, small a. Okay. And similarly in female, that is X carrying genotype, same ಇದೆ combination ಬರ್ತದೆ. There is capital C, capital A, then capital C, small a, and then small c, capital A, and last one small c, small a. I use colored chalk piece. I want to represent this small c. This is nothing but recessive epistatic genes expression. How is that possible here? Let us try to make out. And when this, ovum unites with the sperm of this kind of genotypes, that is capital C, capital C, capital A, capital A. This with this, when it comes like capital C, capital A, small a. When this comes with this, that is capital C, small c, capital A, capital A. When this with this, that is capital C, small c, capital A, small a. Okay. Then second row, this allele combination in ovum uniting with the sperm with this genotype, that is capital C, capital this one, capital C, capital A, small a, right? This with this, capital C, small a. This with this, that is capital C, capital A, small a. This with this, capital C, small a, small a. Then this with this. This is capital C, small c, capital A, capital A. This and this, capital C, small c, capital A, small a. Right? Then this small c, then capital A, capital A. This with this, small c, capital A, small a. And last row, this with this. That is small c, capital A, this with this, capital C, small a, this with this, small c, capital A, small a, this with this, small c, small a. Okay. So here are totally 3 kinds of colors coat colors are expressed by their respective genotypes. Then how do we understand? ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಈ 16 possible genotypes to express their respective colors are only 3. That is one type called agouti colors, another type called black colors, and third type called albino color. Albino color expression ಯಾವಾಗ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ recessive epistatic gene express ಆದಾಗ. ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡೋಣ. Let us try to consider the first one. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಈ genotype ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಮತ್ತು ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎ ಬಂದಿರ್ತಾವು, ನೀವು ಅನ್ಡೌಟೆಡ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಏನಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅಗೌಟಿ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಲೆಟ್ ಮಿ ರಿಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಅಗೌಟಿ ಕಲರ್ ಬೈ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಅಗೌಟಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎ ಎಲ್ಲೇನು ಅದಾವ ನೋಡಿ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಅಗೌಟಿ ಕಲರ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಗೌಟಿ, ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಗೌಟಿ ಅಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಗೌಟಿ. ಓಕೆ, ದೆನ್ ಇದು ನೋಡಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಇದು ಅಗೌಟಿನೇ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಇದಾಗ್ತದ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇದಾಗ್ತದ ಎಸ್, ಇದು ಅಗೌಟಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಇದು ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ದೆನ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಇದು ಅಗೌಟಿ, ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಇದು ಅಗೌಟಿ. ದೆನ್ ಇದಾಗತ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇದಾಗತ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇದಾಗತ್ತಾ. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಇದೆ. ಒನ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್, ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ, ದಿಸ್ ಶುಡ್ ಕಮ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಇಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಇದು ಅಗೌಟಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಇದು ಅಗೌಟಿ ಆಗತ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇದಾಗತ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಇದೆ. ಎರಡು ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಗೌಟಿ. ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾಲಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ರೋ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಎಷ್ಟಾಯಿತು ಅಗೌಟಿ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಸಮ್ವೇರ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಇನ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಅಗೌಟಿ. ದೆನ್ ಇಂಥವು ಅಗೌಟಿ ಎಷ್ಟಾದ್ರು ನೋಡ್ರಿ, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 ಏನಾದ್ರು ಅಗೌಟಿ. ಸೊ ಇದ್ರದ್ದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಡಾಮಿನೇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ, ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು, ಯಾವುದು ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಯಾವಾಗ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಆಗದ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎ ಇದು ರಿಸೆಸಿವ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ನಾಗ ಇದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಂತದ್ದು ನೋಡೋಣ. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕರೆಸ್ಪಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಡಾಮಿನೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎ ಇಸ್ ಅಬ್ಸೆಂಟ್, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ವಿಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ನಾನು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಕಲರ್ ಅಂತೀನಿ. ಸೊ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ವಿತ್ ಯೆಲ್ಲೋ ಕಲರ್ chalk piece I represent capital B as a black colored coat, black coat mouse. Then capital C small e, so that idu kuda black agutte. Then E already ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಇದು ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಇಲ್ವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಇದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸಿ ಇದೆ, ಎಸ್, ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಇದು ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, 1 2 3 black color, right? Then ಇನ್ನುಳಿದಂಥವು 4 ಇದ್ದಾವೆ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ 9 3 12 ಟೋಟಲಿ 16 ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೂ 4 ಅದಾವೆ. ಅವನ್ನ ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ಎಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸಿ we said or considered initially the very beginning of the concept where epistatic gene in this case is found to be recessive. Recessive ಇದ್ದುಕೊಂಡು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಡಾಮಿನೆಂಟ್ ಜೀನ್ ನ ಮಾಸ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದ, ದಾದಾಗಿರಿ ಮಾಡ್ತದ ಅದರ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸಿ ಇದೆ, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸಿ ಹೋಮೋಜೈಗಸ್ ರಿಸೆಸಿವ್ ಎಪಿಸ್ಟಾಟಿಕ್ alleles. Though capital A is a dominant gene for agouti, its color expression is masked, so that small c ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದೆಯೋ ಅದು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಅಗೌಟಿ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಅಥವಾ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಅನ್ನು ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಏನಾಗ್ತದ ಅಲ್ಬಿನೋ ಆಗ್ತದ. ಅಲ್ಬಿನೋ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ನಾನು AL ಅಂತ ಬರೀತೀನಿ. ಇದು ಅಲ್ಬಿನೋ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸಿ ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಎ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಆಗೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಎಪಿಸ್ಟಾಟಿಕ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ, ಇದು ಹೈಪೋಸ್ಟಾಟಿಕ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಕೂಡ AL. ಮುಂದೆ ಇದು ಎಸ್, ಒನ್ಸ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮಾಸ್ಕ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎ ಫಾರ್ ಅಗೌಟಿ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇದು ಕೂಡ ಅಲ್ಬಿನೋ. ದೆನ್ ಲುಕ್ ಅಟ್ ಇಟ್, ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎ ಇಲ್ವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಗೌಟಿ ಬರೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸಿ ಎಪಿಸ್ಟಾಟಿಕ್, ಆಬ್ವಿಯಸ್ಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಕುಡ್ ಬಿ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಬಿಕಮ್ albino. So totally how many of these 16 are albino colored? That is totally 1 2 3 4, so that 4 are albino. So the ratio 9:3:4. So here 9:3:4 is a ratio of expressing phenotypes by modifying the Mendelian dihybrid cross ratio, classical ratio ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ 9:3:3:1 ಇದನ್ನು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಅದು ರಿಸೆಸಿವ್ ಎಪಿಸ್ಟಾಸಿಸ್. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ಸಿಂಪಲ್. ಎಪಿಸ್ಟಾಟಿಕ್ ಜೀನ್ ಇದ್ರೊಳಗೆ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಅಗೌಟಿ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕಲರ್ ಏನು ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಕಲರ್ ಜೀನೂ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಯಾವುದದು ರಿಸೆಸಿವ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸಿ ಈಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು express its in its homozygous condition, express its respective color as albino by means of masking the expression of so-called dominant gene as capital A for agouti. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಮಿನೆನ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಆಗುವುದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸಿ can mask the expression of capital A, but in turn capital A with the C ಬಂತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ this dominant A can suppress the expression of capital C for black color. So this is how exactly the recessive epistatic genes behavior could be very much clearly proved by crossing this black colored mouse with albino colored mouse so as to obtain F1 generation, and considering hybrid F1 generation of agouti colored mouse of male and female, you get totally the expression of all the three phenotypes like the agouti color or grey color coat, then secondly black color coat, and thirdly albino coat color in mouse with a ratio of 9:3:4. Please try to understand. Thank you.